I invite Dr. Motilal, Head Department of Automobile Engineering, to give the welcome address.
So good morning to all. This is Dr. T. Motilal, Professor and Head of Automobile Department, KCG College of Technology. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome Felix Swamidas and a warm welcome to all participants for this seminar. It's a privilege to introduce today's speaker. Felix Swamidas is a research scholar in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Anna University, Chennai. Currently in the verge of defending his doctorate thesis. He has completed Bachelor in Automobile Engineering and Masters in Manufacturing Engineering. His research interests extend in the areas of electrospin polymers for air filter applications, fuel cells, and drug delivery, for which he has published many papers in reputed journals and also applied for patent relating to various fields of electrospin air filter media. I like to give certain instruction to the participants. I request all the participants to mute your Zoom mic, turn off the video. Please post your queries in QA section relevant to the today topic. We will provide the feedback link to the registered mail ID to all the participants. Please give the feedback after the session. Your e-certificate will be posted through your registered mail ID. Participants are requested to attend the complete session. I hope all the participants joined the webinar through your full name. If not, please rename correctly. Thanks in advance for your cooperation. Now I invite Mr. Felix Swamidas to take over the session.
A very good morning to one and all. And I think I'm audible. Is my screen present here, sir?
Yes, sir. It's audible and everything is visible.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to welcome you all for this webinar series. And I would like to thank Dr. Motilal for introducing me. And I would like to thank the staff members of KCG College of Technology Automobile Department. And I would like to also thank KCG College for giving me such an opportunity to present a simple topic about fuel cells. And as Motilal sir said, I'm Felix Swamidas Victor, and I did my PhD in mechanical engineering, and my expertise area is fuel cell, that is high temperature fuel cell. And I also work in electrospinning for air filtration. So, okay, this slide, this presentation is simple and it is not brief, so that the persons who don't understand the simple concept of fuel cell, they can understand it. So this is a simple topic about fuel cell. Let us go into the slide. These are the chapters which we are going to discuss in this presentation. They are nothing but the types of fuels which we are using in IC engine. What are the types of fuels that we are using in IC engine? The next is difference between battery vehicle and fuel cell vehicle. Next, what is fuel cell and how it works, and I will tell you the working in it. And the next is part of fuel cell. Next, what are the history of fuel cell, how it came into existence. And the next is types of fuel cells. There are 7 different types of fuel cells available. I will tell you later. And the next is hydrogen as a fuel, why we are using hydrogen as a fuel except other gases. Next is problem in hydrogen as a fuel. There are also some problems in hydrogen, I will tell you. Next, commercial fuel cell vehicles which are available in the market, and the list of fuel cell vehicles which came into existence in 2020. This is the chapters which we are going to discuss in this presentation. Now let us go to the first slide. First, let us discuss what are the types of fuels that we are using in an IC engine. The types of fuels are petrol, diesel, liquefied petroleum, compressed natural gas, ethanol, and biodiesel. These are the types of fuels that we are using in an IC engine. These fuels are highly efficient and they are highly reliable. So why we have to move towards e-vehicles? That is, e-vehicles are nothing but battery powered vehicles and fuel cell vehicles. Why we have to, though these fuels are highly efficient, they give high efficiency, why we have to move towards e-vehicle? The problem in fuels is, these fuels are, the first problem is depletion of natural resources. Depletion is one of the major problem that we cannot get fuels from other resources, because the oil economy is based on the fuels, right? Oil economy is based on, the major oil economy of the world countries is based on oil only. So we should move towards e-vehicle. Then next major problem is pollution. Pollution is one of the major problem for global warming. About 75 to 80% of the maximum pollution are caused only through the IC engine vehicles exhaust, which causes maximum pollution gases like COX and other NOx gases. This is why we should move towards e-vehicle in order to safeguard our next generation. So Now let us go to the types of e-vehicles. E-vehicles can be classified into two categories. One is battery powered vehicles, another one is called fuel cell vehicles. If you see, these two vehicles are completely different. They are completely different in its working. It is completely different, but something lies in between them. Something lies common in between them. It is the principle of working. In the case of battery powered vehicle and fuel cell vehicle, it works on the principle of converting the chemical energy, that is the fuel, the chemical energy, directly into electrical energy. If you take an IC engine, internal combustion engine, what principle it works? It works in the principle of converting the chemical energy, that is the gasoline. It converts into heat energy, and then it is used into mechanical energy. But in the case of this e-vehicles, it is completely different. Now we can see what is a battery powered vehicle. A vehicle which gets powered through a self-controlled battery by converting the fuel into electricity. Such type of vehicles are called e-vehicles. Maximum type of vehicles we are using, they use lead acid battery or lithium ion battery, which is one of the low cost battery, and other it is really efficient in the case of battery powered vehicles. What are the advantages of battery powered vehicles? Battery powered vehicles have an advantage of, first, it doesn't produce, either if it is noise pollution or pollution, it doesn't produce. Next, when compared to an IC engine, it has very less maintenance, because we don't have to change its monthly maintenance or yearly maintenance. We don't have to change its system like oil changing, next cooling system. There is no filter, there is no belt or hoses to replace. So these are the advantages of battery powered vehicle. When it comes to the disadvantages, the first and the major problem in a battery powered vehicle is its recharging time. For example, if you take a cell phone, it consists of a small lithium ion battery. This small lithium ion battery takes at least 1 hour to 2 hours to recharge for a cell phone, right? To go its efficiency to 100%, it takes at least 1 to 2 hours. For imagine if in the case of a vehicle which consists of stacks of batteries in it, it should take at least 3.5 hours time to 4 hours time to recharge the battery, to travel up to a range of about 340 to 50 kilometers. This is the approximate range of an battery powered vehicles. So the time, the 3 hours to 4 hours time is the major problem in battery powered vehicle. The other problem in battery powered vehicle is battery powered vehicles are expensive when compared to an IC engine vehicle. As you can see, battery powered vehicles are more costly when compared to IC engine vehicle, not fuel cell vehicles. Next, the other disadvantages, the weight of the battery. As you can see, battery powered vehicles have a lot of battery in it, and it adds weight to the vehicle itself. So what it increases, it decreases the efficiency of the vehicle and increases the drag coefficient of the vehicle. So it is a major problem in battery vehicle. If you see fuel cell vehicles on the other hand, are these disadvantages in battery vehicles can be overcome through fuel cell vehicles? Yes, it can overcome. What are the disadvantages in battery vehicle? The recharging time. Here in fuel cell vehicle, it doesn't have a battery. It is similar to an IC engine vehicle. Here you can go, if you have a fuel cell vehicle, you can directly go to a station. You should recharge, not by recharging it, refueling. It can take about 6 to 5 minutes to refuel a vehicle tank. Just like an IC engine, you go to a gasoline station, we can refuel it with 10 minutes. Just like that, fuel cell vehicles can go to the hydrogen station, it can refuel the vehicle, and we can, as long as you supply the fuel, it will run. So the first disadvantage can be overcome through a fuel cell vehicle in the case of a battery cell vehicle. Next, what it overcomes, the weight of the battery. Here there is no battery in a fuel cell vehicle because it consists of fuel cell stack. It's just like an engine in a vehicle which doesn't have a battery, which doesn't have a function of a battery, so the weight is not a problem. Next, the other problem is the traveling range. In the case of battery powered vehicle, it can travel up to 340 to 400 kilometers. Nowadays, they are doing a research to travel to more kilometers. But in the case of fuel cell vehicle, it can travel up to 700 kilometers with a tank capacity of 5.6 kgs. I will tell you why I'm mentioning the liter capacity of a tank into kg. I will explain it to you later. Now, let us see the advantages of fuel cell. In the case of a fuel cell, it doesn't produce no pollution and no noise pollution, just as similar to battery powered vehicle. And the refueling time is really low. You can go to the fuel station, what fuel we are using. You are using hydrogen in a fuel cell. We can go to the refuel station. We can fuel it, and we can run the vehicle within 5 to 10 minutes. The full tank capacity of the fuel cell vehicle can be occupied. Next is the hydrogen fuel cell can be generated in an eco-friendly way. The hydrogen we are using in a fuel cell can be generated in an eco-friendly way, where in the case of an IC engine, it is not an eco-friendly way. What are the disadvantages in a fuel cell vehicle? The major disadvantage in a fuel cell vehicle is the first and major disadvantage is it is expensive than any other vehicles. If you compare it with battery vehicle or IC engine vehicle, the fuel cell vehicle is really expensive. Next is fuels. What type of fuel we are using in a fuel cell vehicle? It is an hydrogen cannot be transported or cannot be stored. So if there is a fuel cell station, the reforming unit of hydrogen should be there, because hydrogen cannot be transported. It is difficult to transport hydrogen in a large scale. So that is the major disadvantages and the difference between e-vehicles, and that is battery powered vehicles and fuel cell vehicles. Now let us go to what is meant by fuel cell. Now let us see the working of fuel cell. As you can see, I will give a simple definition. You can make a note of it. Fuel cell is an electrochemical device that directly converts the chemical energy into electrical energy. Okay, a fuel cell is similar to a battery powered vehicle, which directly converts the chemical energy into electrical energy, where in the case of an IC engine, the chemical energy is converted into heat energy and then converted into mechanical energy. Okay, both batteries and fuel cells converts chemical energy into electrical energy, and also byproduct of this process is in the case of an IC engine, what is the byproduct? The tailpipe exhaust, what we can get, we get particles such as carbon monoxide and nitrous oxide is the tailpipe exhaust, which is an emission. Okay, in the case of a battery powered vehicle, what is the output we get? We get an output as heat. In the case of fuel cell, the output is nothing but heat and water. I will explain the working in the next slide. You can see here, in the case of an in the case of a battery powered vehicle, it is a closed store of energy within it. So when the charge gets depleted, what we should do, we should discard the battery and we should recharge it for 3 hours to 4 hours. But in the case of fuel cell, we can go to a fuel station, we can refuel it, and we can use it, which is a very efficient way. Okay, now you can see what are the now we can see fuel cell consists of 3 different parts. Okay, major parts is 3 parts. One is the anode. This is the anode. These are the, you can see in the right corner, these are the different types of anode which we can use for a fuel cell system. Anode is called as the negative pathway of the fuel cell. So this is anode. These are the different types of anodes we are using. Nothing but carbon cloths and carbon rods and carbon mesh. We can also use graphite and other noble metals like silver, gold, and titanium can also be used as a anode. In the case of a cathode, we can use the similar metals. For anode, what we have used, you can use the same metals as a cathode. Cathode is nothing but the positive pathway of the fuel cell. You can see in the second point I have mentioned here, principle lies in oxidation and reduction. This is the principle which happens in a fuel cell. You can see in the anode region, you can see in the anode section, oxidation takes place, and in the cathode section, reduction takes place. This is the major part of principle which happens in a fuel cell. You can see anode lies in the left part of the fuel cell and cathode lies in the right part of the fuel cell. Okay, what is the center part? The center part is called as the heart of the fuel cell, which is nothing but membrane. What does a membrane look like? A membrane just looks like a wrap. It just looks like a plastic wrap. As you can see in the right corner, these are the types of membrane which we have developed in our university for the use in fuel cell. A membrane is the one which only allows the positive charges to pass through. Now I will explain you the working, how it works. In anode, and the other thing is, if you see in anode and cathode, it consists of a catalyst. A maximum, the catalyst will be platinum catalyst if the fuel cell is used in vehicles. Okay. The anode part consists of a catalyst and a cathode part consists of a catalyst. Now, let me tell you what happens here. When the fuel is supplied into the fuel cell, the oxygen gas, the hydrogen gas comes into the the anode chamber, which is the negative pathway of the fuel cell, where it touches the catalyst and the oxygen atom splits into 2. One is the electron and other one is the proton, where electron is the negative charge and proton is the positive charge. So what happens? The membrane, which has a capacity to only allow the protons to pass through, where the electrons gets transferred through an outer circuit. If an electron moves, what happens? Simple. Electricity is generated, so that electricity can be used to run a vehicle. So what happens in a cathode section? In the anode section, oxidation takes place, and in the cathode section, reduction takes place by combining hydrogen molecule, which combines with the oxygen molecule, which readily available in the environment. So the output will be water and heat. This is how a fuel cell works. This is the simple concept of fuel cell works. I will show you in this diagram, in this video. 1 minute. You can see in this video the hydrogen molecules. You can see that hydrogen molecules come, 1 minute. Hydrogen molecules comes in contact with the catalyst in the anode, and it gets splits into two. One is the positive charges which passes through the electrolyte, and the negative charge passes through an outer circuit. Now what happens? The negative charge and positive charge recombine. That is, reduction takes place, recombine with each other, and they combine with oxygen molecule, and they form an output of water. This is the working of fuel cell. Okay, now let us see. Sorry, 1 minute. Now let us see the history of fuel cell. So this is the history. Fuel cell was first invented in the early 1800s. It is more an evolutionary technology than a revolutionary one. As we could say, it is an evolutionary technology, more an revolutionary one. And fuel cell was originally invented in the early 1800s. This by Humphrey Davy. He was the one who first invented, who gave the principle of what became a fuel cell later. This technology was gradually developed and used in NASA Apollo space program in the later 1960s to 1970s. At this time, General Motors was the only company who came into an idea of developing a fuel cell. The first fuel cell which came into development was an alkaline fuel cell. There are different types of fuel cell. I will tell you in the next slide. In that, the General Motors was the first one to develop an alkaline fuel cell, where they used that in an Gemini space program. They have used it. And General Motors, they again developed with another type of technology which is called as proton exchange membrane fuel cell. This is the technology which we are still using in a vehicle. This proton exchange membrane fuel cell was first developed in the year of 1962. In the early 1950s, you can see General Motors also invented the first fuel cell vehicle, which was not a commercial vehicle. It is a tractor which produces an output voltage of 15 kilovolt with a pulling weight of 1360 kilograms, which is really high at that time. And early in the 1956, General Motors also designed a vehicle which is a minivan which can run to a top speed of about 114 kilometers. It can run a top speed of 114 kilometers with a traveling range of 240 kilometers by using a fuel of about 5.4 kilograms of hydrogen. So fuel can only be denoted in the case of hydrogen. Fuel can be only denoted in kilograms, not in liters. Next we can see in the early 1997 to 1998, companies like Daimler, Renault, Toyota, and Mazda all demonstrated fuel cell cars, which is a 50 kilovolt vehicle. In the early 1998, all major companies started using other fuel cell vehicles also. I think a lot of questions are coming, and I will answer the questions later, or by mail. I will answer you to all if you contact me through mail. Let me start again. All major companies are demonstrating fuel cell vehicles with other fuels. They are not only using hydrogen as a fuel, they're also using methanol and compressed hydrogen gas, and also other natural gas they are also using. And these vehicles are all not commercial vehicles. They are just concept cars. In the early to last decade and this decade, you can see there are not many fuel cell cars have developed. In the last year, there are so many fuel cell cars that came into market. The major companies which are contributing in that are Hyundai, Honda, Nissan, and Toyota. These are the major 4 companies which are contributing in fuel cell vehicles. Where in the case of in India, there are no fuel cell vehicles because there are fuel cell vehicles, but not commercially available. We are still in the research purpose because we are more concentrating on battery powered vehicles. Next, you can see types of fuel cells. In types of fuel cell, you can see fuel cell can be classified into 7 different types. It is based on how it can be classified. It can be classified based on 2 categories. One is the types of membrane it used, and other one is the type of fuel it used. First is proton exchange membrane fuel cell. Proton exchange membrane fuel cell is the technology which was invented in the early 1958, but it is the technology which we are still using here. The temperature of proton exchange membrane fuel cell is around 80 to 100 degrees Celsius. So what this technology is still used in vehicles. In the case of an alkaline fuel cell technology, this was the first technology which was ever developed by General Motors. Here we are using an electrolyte as potassium hydroxide, which is an liquid, and the temperature range is 150 to 200 degrees Celsius, which is relatively very high when compared to proton exchange membrane fuel cells, so it cannot be used in vehicles. So alkaline fuel cells, they are using in space station. So what purpose? For the purpose to produce heat, as well as the purpose to produce water for the onboard space humans who are working in International Space Station. As you can see, the next is phosphoric acid fuel cells. Phosphoric acid fuel cell are otherwise called as stationary fuel cells, because due to its large size volume, they are only used for stationary purposes. And you can see what is the electrolyte that we are using in phosphoric acid is phosphoric acid we are using. This is also a liquid, and the next is the temperature is relatively very high, that is 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, and they are used for hydrogen production. The fourth and fifth one is known as the solid oxide fuel cell and molten carbonate fuel cell. In solid oxide fuel cell and molten carbonate fuel cell, you can see these both are nothing but they are high temperature fuel cells. They are high temperature fuel cells. That's why the electrolyte they are using is zirconia and potassium carbonate. So in order to withstand the temperature of about 1000 to 650 to 1000 degrees Celsius, they should need a ceramic compound to withstand the temperature. So that's why zirconia has been used in solid oxide fuel cell, and in the case of molten carbonate fuel cell, we are using potassium carbonate. These two fuel cells are called as high power fuel cells and used in high power plants. Next is direct methanol fuel cell. This is completely different from the above fuel cells. As you can see, the other fuel cells, they are using hydrogen and as well as other natural gas as a fuel, where in the case of direct methanol fuel cell, the electrolyte is same as polymer proton exchange membrane fuel cell, that is polymer membrane, but the fuel is different. The fuel is not hydrogen, it is methanol. Methanol has lot of advantages than hydrogen, but it is not efficient equal to hydrogen. But the temperature range is relatively very low, and it cannot be used in direct methanol fuel cell, cannot be used in vehicles, automobiles, because the efficiency is very low when compared to other fuel cells. So they are using it in hydrogen production. Next, you can see biofuel cells. As you can see, the other different types of fuel cells are completely different, and biofuel cell is entirely different. I need at least another hour to take about biofuel cells, so we are not concentrating on it. Biofuel cells is completely different. Biofuel cell is completely different, where in the case of other fuel cell, they are using methanol, hydrogen, and natural gas as a fuel. In the case of biofuel cell, we are using wastewater as a fuel, and in that wastewater we can generate electricity, but the electricity is not up to the mark of fuel cell, because fuel cell is relatively high efficient, which can able to run and coal power plant. But in the case of a biofuel cell, it can able to charge a mobile phone. That is a simple application of a biofuel cell. They are still used in wastewater treatment to produce electricity. Next is, we can go deeply into the types of fuel cells. This is known as the proton exchange membrane fuel cell. As you can see the image, this is how it looks like. A proton exchange membrane fuel cell is otherwise called as polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, okay? Because it delivers high power density. What is the advantage in it? It delivers high power density and offers the advantage of low weight and volume compared with other fuel cells. As you can see, proton exchange membrane fuel cell uses, I already said here, proton exchange membrane uses a polymer membrane here. Okay, but in the case of they are using a polymer membrane, but we can use other type of membrane like Nafion. Nafion is one of the major type of membrane which we are used in all over in vehicles, because it is relatively cheap and highly efficient. Okay. Next, they only need what is the purpose of this proton exchange membrane fuel? So what is the fuel they need? They only need hydrogen and oxygen from air to operate. They are typically fueled with pure hydrogen supplied from storage tank or reformers. Okay, proton exchange membrane fuel cell operates relatively at a very low temperature. That's why we are using it in vehicles, and it has a major advantage is that is it has a speed starting time. For a vehicle to start up, it needs a speed starting time. So proton exchange membrane is a material which has a it is a fuel cell which has a speed starting time. However, it required a noble metal catalyst, typical platinum as an platinum as an catalyst. I have told you, catalyst is the one which splits the hydrogen molecules into proton and electron. So in the case of proton exchange membrane, it needs a catalyst which is made up of platinum. So platinum is costly. As you know, platinum is extremely costly and it is extremely sensitive. So it adds system cost. Why it is extremely sensitive? Because when proton exchange membrane fuel cell, you can see in proton exchange membrane membrane fuel cell, the fuel we are using is hydrogen. So hydrogen is normally, we can extract normally from hydrogen from hydrocarbons. Okay. So when it comes with contact with the platinum catalyst, what happens? It readily poisons the gas, which made into carbon monoxide, which is a poisoning gas. Okay. Next, what happens? This can be reduced by adding reactors also. In application part of view, you can see proton exchange membrane fuel cells are primarily used for transportation application due to its fast startup time and favorable power to weight ratio density. So that's why proton exchange membrane fuel cells are used in vehicles. Now let us see alkaline fuel cell. You can see alkaline fuel cell is in the right corner. This is how an alkaline fuel cell just looks like in the space station. We are using it in the space station. You can see there in the right corner. This is how alkaline fuel cell looks like. Alkaline fuel cell is something was the first fuel technology which was developed. They were used for the US space programs to produce electrical energy and water for onboard spacecraft for the humans who are working there. Okay, these fuel cell use a solution of potassium hydroxide. In the case of proton exchange membrane fuel cell, we use polymer membrane. In the case of an alkaline fuel cell, what we use potassium hydroxide as an electrolyte, and which can be used as a non-precious metal as a catalyst. In the case where in proton exchange membrane fuel cell, we use a catalyst called platinum. Okay, but in alkaline fuel cell, platinum catalyst, we don't want to use platinum catalyst. We can use other type of non-noble metals can also use, which is relatively cheap. Next, in the recent year, what scientists have developed, instead of using an alkaline, that is potassium hydroxide liquid, scientists have developed with an idea of alkaline fuel membrane. Okay, alkaline membrane. They have developed an alkaline membrane which is highly efficient than alkaline, that's potassium hydroxide. These fuel cells are closely related to the conventional proton exchange membrane fuel cell, because except they use an alkaline membrane instead of an acid membrane. And as you can see, the high performance of alkaline fuel cell is due to the fast electrochemical reaction takes place. We can get an efficiency of about 60% efficiency we can get from alkaline fuel cell. And the key challenge in the fuel cell is it is susceptible to poisoning by carbon dioxide. Both proton exchange membrane fuel cell and alkaline fuel cell can be poisoned. It can be poisoned by proton exchange fuel cell, can be poisoned by carbon monoxide, and here carbon dioxide can be a poisoning. So it is also a problem that even a small amount of carbon dioxide in air can dramatically affect the cell performance and durability due to carbonate formation. So this is a major problem. This can also be controlled by placing an additional reactor. This can also be controlled. What are the challenges we face in alkaline fuel cell? Alkaline fuel cell, you can see alkaline fuel cell is not used in vehicles nowadays. It is only used in space stations. Okay, what are the challenges we are using in alkaline fuel cell? Is alkaline fuel cell is the membrane conductivity is one of the challenge, and the other one is high temperature operation. Okay, when compared to proton exchange membrane, it is really high temperature. Next is power density and durability. These are the problems we are faced in alkaline fuel cell. Now you can see this is the phosphoric acid fuel cell. You can see the image of phosphoric acid fuel cell, which just looks like an inverter, right? This is something really big, and it occupies a large volume. You can see phosphoric acid fuel cell use liquid phosphoric acid as an electrolyte, where in the case of it is same like an alkaline fuel cell where they used potassium hydroxide. In the case of phosphoric acid fuel cell, we use phosphoric acid as a fuel, and this acid is contained in a Teflon bonded silicon carbon matrix. Okay, it is bonded in a silicon carbon matrix, and porous carbon electrodes containing platinum as a catalyst should be used here, because this phosphoric acid and proton exchange membrane should use a porous carbon platinum as a catalyst, because they should separate the because platinum is the only compound in phosphoric acid fuels which can separate the fuel. Okay, that is the hydrogen. In phosphoric acid fuel cell is considered as the first generation of modern fuel cell. It is one of the matured cell types and first to be used commercially. Okay, this type of fuel cells are typically used for stationary power generation. They are not used for transportation purpose, or in the vehicle we cannot use phosphoric acid fuel cell because it occupies a large volume. And you can see phosphoric acid fuel cell can give an efficiency of about 85% when combined with an efficiency of both heat as well as electricity. The output, if we combine both heat and electricity, the output will be around 85% of efficiency. But in the case of only the electricity, if we calculate only the electricity, phosphoric acid fuel cell can only give 37 to 42%, which is very much less than alkaline fuel cell and proton exchange membrane fuel cell. As you can see, as a result, they are typically large and heavy. They also require much higher loading of platinum when compared to proton exchange membrane cell. These phosphoric acid fuel cell needs higher loading of platinum to separate separate the molecules. So that's add cost to the system, and it is really expensive. Phosphoric acid fuel cell is expensive. Next is solid oxide fuel cell. Solid oxide fuel cell is something different because it is called as high temperature fuel cell. I will tell you why. Solid oxide fuel cell use a hard porous ceramic compound as an electrolyte. They never use a polymer membrane because they operate at a temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius, and in that temperature we cannot use a polymer membrane or an potassium hydroxide or alkaline. We cannot use that because it will evaporate and it will melt. So we are using a ceramic. Usually we are using zirconia as a electrolyte, and this electrolyte, what is the advantage in the solid oxide fuel cell is we doesn't need any catalyst to split the molecules because it is operated at a temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius. We doesn't need any catalyst like platinum or any other noble metals. We doesn't need. Okay, what is the other property of this solid oxide catalyst? It is sulfur resistant. So corrosion resistant, and other one is it cannot be poisoned by either carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. And you can also see not only hydrogen, it can also use natural gas, biogas, and the gas made from coal as fuel we can also use. You can see this high temperature operation has also a disadvantage. What disadvantage is that? Because it has a slow startup time. This slow startup time will never make the solid fuel cell to get into the vehicles, because vehicles we need a speed startup time like proton exchange membrane fuel cell. And it works at the temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, what happens? The heat is generated out, so we need a thermal shielding. Thermal shielding is also a costly, so it is also a problem in this solid oxide fuel cell. This is acceptable only for utility application, but not for transportation. As you can see, this high temperature fuel cell decreases the durability of the material, which is a key challenge we are facing in this technology. Nowadays, scientists have been developed a fuel cell of solid oxide fuel cell, which is a temperature of about 700 degrees Celsius. But when we compare this temperature efficiency with 1000 degrees Celsius of solid oxide fuel cell, the efficiency is relatively very low. Now you can see next is molten carbonate fuel cell. Molten carbonate fuel cells are currently being developed for natural gas and coal-based power plants for electrical utility, industrial and military application. Next, you can see in molten carbonate fuel cells, or otherwise known as high temperature fuel cell. They are also like solid carbonate fuel cell, which is operated at a temperature of 650 to 700 degrees Celsius, as I have mentioned. Okay, what is the electrolyte we are using here? The electrolyte is molten carbonate salt mixture, which is suspended in an chemically inert ceramic lithium aluminum oxide matrix. Okay, this is also a compound which is highly resistant to heat. Okay, next, because they operate at a 650 degrees Celsius, which is relatively very high temperature, we don't want to use any catalyst like which I said in a solid oxide fuel cell. We don't want to use any catalyst, right? In the like platinum, we don't want to use any catalyst in molten carbonate also, because it lies in a temperature of about 650 to 700 degrees Celsius, which is enough to split the molecules. Next, the improved efficiency is another reason of molten carbonate fuel cell. As you can see, when comparing the efficiency with other fuel cell, you can see molten carbonate is the only fuel cell which can give an efficiency of about 65%, which is relatively very high when compared to other fuel cell. And when it co-generate heat and electricity, we can calculate the energy. It can give up to 85%. Unlike other fuel cells, molten carbonate fuel cell does not require a fuel source from outside. We have to transport an hydrogen or other natural gas to this molten oxide fuel cell. We can just pass the molten oxide fuel cell because they are having a reforming unit in itself. This is how a molten carbonate fuel cell looks. This is the image of a molten carbonate fuel cell. They are having a reforming unit itself, which generates its own fuel. Okay, that is one of the major advantages. What is the disadvantage? The primary disadvantage is durability. Durability is the major problem, and corrosion is also a major problem in molten carbonate fuel cell. Next is direct methanol fuel cell. As you can see, direct methanol fuel cell is completely different from other fuel cell. You can see direct methanol fuel cell usually they use pure methanol, which is mixed with water and fed directly into the anode to start the reaction. Where in the case of other fuels, we are using hydrogen, natural gas, coal gas, and as well as we are using other gases also. But in the case of direct methanol fuel cell, we are using only methanol. So it has an advantage over other fuels because we don't have to transport methanol like hydrogen hydrogen. Because hydrogen is a less denser material, it is difficult to transport. Where in the case of methanol, it is similar to gasoline and diesel, where we can transport with our infrastructure. So it is not a problem. And the other disadvantage in direct methanol fuel cell, it can only use to provide power for portable fuel cell application like a laptop and it can charge laptop and a phone. So this is the major disadvantage in direct methanol fuel cell. Next is microbial fuel cell. Microbial fuel cell, as I mentioned before, this is the, as you can see, this is the image of a microbial fuel cell which we have developed in our college. This is a single cell which is powered, as I said, microbial fuel cell is powered with wastewater. By using the wastewater, we can generate electricity, and this electricity can be is much more lower efficient when compared with the other fuel cell, because they are giving an output voltage which is relatively high, and they with that voltage a coal power plant or a vehicle can run. But this microbial fuel cell gives a very low efficiency, because due to its still it is in research purpose, it is not in the large scale industries. Okay. Why I mentioned fuel cell stacks here? Because if you take a battery powered vehicle, you can see there will not be a single battery to power a vehicle. You can see if you have seen a battery powered vehicle, there will be a stacks of battery. There will be a dozens of battery, each connected to a single circuit, so that if you can charge and you can use the vehicle efficient and you can travel a distance. Okay. But in as same in the case of fuel cell stack, it is also seen that fuel cell is also similar to battery. A single fuel cell can never run a vehicle, because a single fuel cell produces a small amount of energy, where a stacks of fuel cell produce a really high amount of energy which can run a vehicle. That's why I mentioned fuel cell stacks here. Next is why we should use hydrogen as a fuel. Though we are having methanol, though we are having other natural gas as a fuel cell, why we have to use hydrogen as a fuel? Because hydrogen has the highest energy per mass of the fuel than any other fuel. And the other thing is, hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. And you can see, though it is abundant in universe, it cannot be naturally found on Earth. Hydrogen must be extracted from other sources. It is always combined with other elements like water. You can see in water, it consists of hydrogen and oxygen. So it must be removed. Hydrogen must be removed from oxygen, like a process known as electrolysis. But the problem in removing the process is really costly. Removing hydrogen from oxygen, like by removing hydrogen from water, is really a costly process. Like electrolysis, we can do. Next, what is the advantage in hydrogen? In its purest form, hydrogen is non-toxic, which is colorless and odorless gas. But the problem is, hydrogen is readily flammable than any other substance. Okay. Next, hydrogen is like electricity. We can call hydrogen as the energy resource rather than an energy carrier, because it has a lot of energy resource in it. Next is, both electricity and hydrogen can be produced from all energy resources. You can see from natural gas we can produce hydrogen, from petroleum products we can produce hydrogen, from coal we can produce hydrogen, solar and wind electrolysis we can also produce hydrogen, and even from biomass also we can produce hydrogen. So producing hydrogen is not a problem. If you see, there are millions and metric tons of hydrogens are being produced annually all over the world, which is enough to fuel millions of fuel cell cars. But what is the problem when it comes to hydrogen using hydrogen as a problem? The first and the major problem is, we cannot transport hydrogen and we cannot store hydrogen. Why we cannot store it? Hydrogen is difficult to store because it has very low volumetric energy density. You can if you weight water, if you weight water, 1 liter of water, it will weight 1 kg, right? It will be approximate to 1 kg, right? But if you weight hydrogen, if you weight 1 liter of hydrogen, it will be 1 liter of hydrogen will be only 92 milligrams of its weight. So it is very less dense energy density material. And you can see, hydrogen is the simplest and it is the lightest element ever available. It is lighter than helium itself. Okay. Next, hydrogen is 3.7 times less denser than natural gas and 2,700 times less denser energy density than the gasoline we are using. In the case of an onboard storage, if we have to store an hydrogen for a vehicular application, what it should meet applications such as, it should be lightweight, it should be compact, it should be safe, and it should be also cost effective, and it should also run above 300 kilometers. Okay. Next is, although various hydrogen storage technologies are presently available, but none satisfies the automobile industry's requirement, because we cannot able to manufacture hydrogen storage for vehicle which satisfies the condition of automobile industries. In fact, finding a solution to the hydrogen storage problem is considered as the foremost challenge for the hydrogen economy. Next, you can see what are the ways we can store hydrogen. For hydrogen should be used in a vehicle, what are the ways hydrogen can be stored? Hydrogen can be stored in 3 different ways. The first point is compressed gas. The next point is liquid, that is nothing but cryogenic temperature, and the other one is by storing it with a solid by reacting with it metals and compounds. You can see what is the problem in storing hydrogen as a compressed gas. When hydrogen gets compressed, it occupies more volume than a normal fuel. If you see, this is the image of a tank which carries 26 liter of normal gasoline. This is a 40-ton of a truck which can carry 26 liters of normal gasoline or petrol. But in the case of an 40-ton truck, which can carry only 400 kilograms of hydrogen. So this is a problem in hydrogen, and it is also known as, and when it gets compressed, such as at high pressure, it is difficult to store in it in a tank, because catastrophic failure can occur in tank. So this is a major problem. Next, if we should store it in a tank, it should be made up of high strength steel. So this high strength steel, what it should be like? It should be like the weight of the high strength steel should be more than 100 times the weight of the hydrogen. So it is impractical to develop an hydrogen storage tank. But we have came up an idea by developing an hydrogen storage tank of making carbon fibers. By using carbon fibers, we are using it. But what is the problem in carbon fiber? Carbon fibers are relatively costly. Okay. Next, how can we store it? We can store it in the way of liquid hydrogen. I mentioned here in the second point, you can store it in the form of liquid. How it can be stored? How hydrogen gas can be converted into liquid? It can be converted when it goes to the temperature of below minus 253 degrees Celsius, which is a very low temperature. It is very much lower than nitrogen, right? Liquid cryogenic hydrogen also occupies 3 times more volume than that of its original capacity. So when hydrogen gets liquefied, there is a significant energy loss which cannot be used for as a fuel. And also there is other problem. Hydrogen is harder to liquefy than any other except helium. Liquid hydrogen is colder than any other substance except liquid helium. Liquid hydrogen is much more colder than liquid nitrogen. I think most of you have seen liquid nitrogen, and we have used it for cryogenic purposes, right? For cryogenic machining purpose, we are using liquid nitrogen. It is more colder than liquid nitrogen, so which we cannot use it for a fuel cell. Next, hydrogen cannot be directly vented to an atmosphere. If an accident takes place, hydrogen cannot be directly gone into the atmosphere. If it goes to the atmosphere, what happens? An explosion hazard will cause. So transportation is a problem. Next, you can see the commercial fuel cells vehicles. Okay. Here you can see why I mentioned commercial fuel cell vehicles. It can be categorized into two. There are 2 categories of vehicles. One is the vehicles which they're developing their own fuel cell stack, and the other vehicles which are buying fuel cell from other resources. Okay, now let us see the companies which are producing fuel cell stack. General Motors, Toyota, and Honda are the second point I mentioned. These are the companies which they are producing their own fuel cell stacks for the vehicles depending upon the efficiency. But companies like Ford, Mazda, Daimler, Chrysler, Mazda, Hyundai, Fiat, and Volkswagen, they are all using fuel cell stacks which can be powered from Ballard power system. Ballard power system is the one of the major companies which are producing fuel cells. So they are buying fuel cell for the vehicles from Ballard power system depending on the requirement. Okay. Next, let us see the fuel cell stations all over the world. Here you can see there is a lot of fuel stations available in the a lot of gasoline stations available all over the world. But in case of fuel cell station, there are only 200 fuel stations available all over in the world. In that, 50% we can see it from Japan. We can 50% of the fuel cells occupants are from Japan, because Japan is the only country which are moving towards the fuel cell vehicles more than electrical vehicle. They are concentrating on fuel cell vehicle, and the other countries like America and Germany, nowadays they are concentrating. Nowadays they're concentrating more on fuel cell vehicles than electrical vehicles. But in the case of this list, we cannot see India, because India is nowadays concentrating, nowadays only we are in this decade only we are concentrating on electrical vehicle, and fuel cell vehicle is still a research purpose in India. It is not commercially available. Fuel cell vehicles are not commercially available, but concept cars are available from Tata. Next, you can see hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. What are the market key players? Who are the major productions of hydrogen fuel cell? Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, Daimler, Audi, Nissan, and General Motors. These are the company which are producing the three different sections. That is, one is hatchback, the other one is sedan. They are also producing SUV. But in the case of Ballard Power System doesn't produce vehicle. They only produce the fuel cell stacks. Then in the case of MAN is the company which produces trucks based on fuel cell technology. As you can see, these are the latest models of fuel cell which we have developed in the last 5 years. This is the latest models of fuel cell technology. You can see these are the company cars which are available in the market, but not in India. You can see the Honda Civic, Honda Clarity, and Honda FCX. These are the models which are available in Honda. They travel at a distance of what distance they travel? They travel at a mileage of about 589 kilometer per 5.6 kilograms of hydrogen. We cannot calculate hydrogen by the means of liter. If we calculate 5.46 kilograms of hydrogen in the case of liter, it will be, the tank capacity will be around 114 liters, which is a very large tank. Okay, it can travel up to the distance of about 580 and 560 kilometers in the case of Honda Civic and Honda Clarity, where Honda FCX can cross about 600 kilometers. These all are hatchback models. In the case of in the case of Hyundai, you can see Hyundai iX35 and Hyundai Nexo. These two models are not SUV. It is an hatchback model. In the case of the last one, his name is Hyundai Tucson. Hyundai Tucson is available in India, but as an hybrid vehicle, it is available in India, but not as a fuel cell vehicle. It is only available in Japan and other countries, not in India. Here you can see Hyundai iX and Hyundai Nexo can travel at a range of about 594 kilometers with a top speed of about 150 kilometers per hour. So where Hyundai Tucson is a SUV which has a very low fuel capacity, and it can drive to a range of about 502 kilometers, which is much less when compared to other fuel vehicles. Now we are seeing Toyota Mirai. You can see this is a Toyota Mirai. This is the one of the most selling vehicle, and this vehicle. This vehicle, you can see this is the fuel cell system, which just look like an engine in the bonnet, and this is on the last picture. You can see this is the fuel cell which is situated on the rear seat of the passenger car. Toyota Mirai is one of the efficient vehicle which can travel to a distance of about 650 kilometer range by using 6 kgs of hydrogen. Next, you can see Toyota Mirai is the only company which have participated in the NASCAR race with a top speed of about 180 kilometers per hour. 1 minute. So next, if we go to the next slide, you can see in the right corner, you can see a Mercedes-Benz, which is a F class. You can see Mercedes-Benz can be classified into different categories, right? A class, C, and E class, right? Elegant class, you can see different class. And this class is known as the F class. The F class is nothing but fuel cell class. This is not a concept car. This is a commercially available car. This is a SUV type model, which has a fuel capacity of 7 kgs and which can travel at a distance of 520 kilometers. And the other, in the left corner, we can see an Audi Q-tron. Audi H-tron, and we can find Audi Q-tron in the market, but not in India, but in foreign countries we can find Audi Q-tron, which is a hybrid vehicle. In this model is nothing but Audi H-tron. H is nothing but hydrogen powered vehicle. This can go to a efficiency, can go to a range of about 650, and it can pass about 700 kilometers range if we use in an efficient roadway. And next is known as Nissan X-Trail. Nissan X-Trail is a much cheaper fuel cell vehicle when compared to other fuel cell vehicles. It is an SUV model, and which can only travel at a distance of about 150 kilometers with a fuel capacity of about 6 kilograms of hydrogen. So this is all about the fuel cell. This is the same basics about fuel cell that I have wanted to tell you all. And if you have to go to detail, I can also go for another session. But I have a little bit of work, I have to attend my meeting. Next, I have a meeting, so I have to move on. So I will tell you what are the research activities that we are doing in Anna University College of Engineering Mechanical Department. The main research activities we are doing is fuel cell. We are working on alkaline fuel cell and proton exchange membrane fuel cell, and also we are working on microbial fuel cell. And we are also working we have also patents for my fuel cell also, and we are also working in drug delivery by using nanofibers, and we are also working on air filtration by using nanofibers. This is the area of research activities that which we have involved. And if you have any time and if you have any queries, you can contact me through my mail ID, and you can call me at any time, so that if you have to visit our department, I will take you there, and I will give you a demo on fuel cell as well as the other research which you're taking there. So I thank you all for paying attention to my presentation. And once again, I thank Dr. Motilal and the KCG College of Technology for giving me this opportunity. I thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session on the insights into the technology of fuel cells in automobile. I now invite Mr. Madhavan, Assistant Professor, Department of Automobile Engineering, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to everyone. It's my pleasure to give the vote of thanks. So, on behalf of Automobile Department, thanks to our management giving the great opportunity to conduct today interesting webinar, and my sincere thanks to Principal Dr. G. Prabhakaran sir, and Associate Dean Dr. Devasundari Madam, and Dr. T. Motilal, Professor and Head of the Department, giving their continuous support to conduct this webinar. And on behalf of today participants and KCG College of Technology, very much thanks to today a young, talented resource person, Mr. V. Felix Omidas sir, research scholar, CEG Campus, Anna University. Sir, this session is eye-opener into a blooming technology of fuel cell and its advantage over the conventional and electric vehicle and their scope in India for our budding engineers. And another happy news to all, sir having DC meeting at 12 o'clock. So behalf of today participants and KCG College of Technology, we wish to do success and all the very best, sir. And behalf of today, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And behalf of today, behalf of Automobile Department and KCG College of Technology, heartily thanks to today participants. We hope we enjoy this today's session, and we are sure it should be continued in our next webinar. And thank you all.